it certainly was. Certainly was. But punk, as you said, is a part of a subculture that also wasn't just about music, it was about fashion, it was about film, it was about stories, about all kinds of things which were against the establishment. And right now, we're at a situation where our establishment is very weak. I mean, the opposition is even weaker. The country is going through all kinds of problems, and as is the world. And we're on the edge of something, a big shift coming our way. So maybe this is a time when there'll be another group of outsiders.
Yeah, I think so.
Feel that, you know, they've got a story to tell or something of expression.
They've got something that they want to say, in some way that they want to try and help and inspire people to do something in order to cause change or affect a different way of thinking, or try and give people a different perspective on how things work and how things could be. It's a bit like when we talk about creative people, science fiction writers, to sort of veer off a little bit. Science fiction writers are always trying to predict a future, and you get a lot of an idea of how a society is today by reading dystopian science fiction to understand. You know, they're sort of doing a counter argument. If we follow this path, this is where it could lead us. I wonder if that's what we're going to get now, because we do seem to be in a place of. I think this is the most chaotic time I can ever remember in my life.
There is a shift definitely coming. There is a shift. So, what do you think? I mean, this is really a broadcast of thoughts, but we'd love to hear from you. And as ever, you can join us on our Facebook page, which is
at Hip Not to Be Square, Mark and Zac the Outsiders.
So we're broadcasting this now on YouTube. You can see us, and then you can find us on our Facebook community. And you can write to us, you can communicate on that Facebook page. We have our 5 Steps to Living Your Best Life as an outsider, which is a free PDF, which if you're intrigued or you feel that you are an outsider and you'd like to know a little bit more about the concept of it, all you need to do is write on the chats. And as ever, we're really fascinated to know who's listening out there, where you're from, your location. So maybe in this particular instance, you could write the words punk, P-U-N-K, in our chat box and your location, and just your request. That will be an automatic request to get your free PDF, which we will send to you on return of your message.
We will indeed. And it'd be interesting to know if there's any particular songs, punk songs that resonated with you at the time. I mean, I was sort of more late 80s, so I remember Adam and the Ants and that sort of thing. They were very different to anything else out there. I always wanted to be Adam Ant and the makeup and Prince Charming.
You've done a good job at that, Zac. Also, I was thinking actually, the movement, which is very interesting, and it probably reflected the times, was out of the punk movement came the music that I probably am more so connected with, and that's the new wave era. And actually, there's a song by one of the artists in that period, Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
And his track, which is what we were going to use, is I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea. I think that was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's loads of bands that formed out of the punk movement, and that also reflects that times became calmer and the economy developed again. And so the music was reflected more dreamy, more far away, more escapist type of music than the reality, the hardcore reality of, you know, dramatic change in the punk movement.
That's very true. You can see that reflected in films.
Yeah.
And you can also see, actually, just thinking about, we were talking about Tears for Fears earlier while we were having a drink, and thinking about the Tears for Fears journey. Yes, it was. They were quite sort of edgy, but then in '89, Sowing the Seeds of Love was a much more positive outlook on life, asking to
I think
come
it was
to a place
more
of love.
positive on their own relationship as well as a band. But anyway, we digress because we're moving from punk
to
Tears for Fears.
Tears is totally different,
huge.
but I do like them.
Huge change.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, interesting, just one little thing I'd like to add. My cousin was a punk. I remember him. He's a little bit older than me, But I remember going to my auntie's house. They lived in Tunbridge Wells. He was probably the only punk in Tunbridge Wells,
Possibly.
actually. Yeah,
The only
stood
in the
up.
village.
So yeah, but I remember he had the hair. He had the sort of Mohican-y spiked hair. I think it was different colours. He had the sort of jackets and the things like that. I think I had a bomber jacket that was his as well, with the Union Jack on it and things like that.
My memory goes back to the last gig of a band called the Jam, who weren't they were kind of on the edge of punk and
Mod, is it a mod?
mod. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
another movement. That was another movement, but they
Yeah.
were on that sort of line. And I saw their last gig at the Birmingham Bingley Hall,
Yeah.
which was rammed. There must have been about 30,000 people, scrunched into this thing. So I've seen some quite radical punk and, let's say, post-punk bands play live. But I can't say hand on heart that I was a punk.
No.
I just witnessed it from an outsider's perspective, actually, because I wasn't really the age, and I suppose of the disposition, really, but I could relate to them as definitely outsiders looking in.
Maybe we're more like radicals rather than punks. We're the radicals. And there's nothing more radical than recording a podcast in the foyer of a cinema
In Chelsea.
and people keep walking in.
And out.
We're rambling away, talking
Thinking,
to a camera.
are they mad?
And they're looking at us very strangely
That's a good question.
as they go off to watch their film.
And before the next troupe comes in, I think we should say goodbye from Chelsea.
It's a goodbye.
Even though
film. Yes, even though we're
inside.
we are inside, but
We're outside as well at the same time.
Actually in Chelsea, in the Everyman Theatre. Thank you, Everyman Theatre, for accommodating us without your knowledge. And we shall be back for a podcast next week.
Yeah.
Shall we not?
So from the inside out, we shall see you next time.
Ciao for now.
See you. Bye-bye.